Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 26th of July, now it's 10 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. As you can see, this update I will record outside because many of you do prefer this format. It's quite noisy here, but and I do like make updates outside, but unfortunately I cannot use maps. But anyway, let's talk about news and first of all, I'll share with you a quick summary of the situation on the front line, and I will begin with from southern sectors of the front. So Kherson region, it's usual stuff really. It's artillery duels between the sides and some wrecking operations. Units of Russian and Ukrainian forces are trying to establish control over those small islands in delta of the Dnieper River. But overall situation is operational pause. I will call it operational pause, and because many of you do not really like whenever I use terminology like stalemate, because stalemate is more like when sides have more or less equal positions, equal situations, and it's not always the case, or mainly it's not the case when it comes to this conflict. I believe Russian forces are in much better shape and position than Ukrainian forces are. So I will use terminology like operational pause. So Kherson region, it's operational pause. When it comes to Donetsk and South Donetsk and Zaporozhye direction of the front line, it's still nowhere to see in second wave of anticipated by many second wave of Ukrainian so-called counteroffensive, even though some local scale skirmishes do happen on daily basis. And this morning I did read on some Russian language telegram pages that during previous 12 to 24 hours Ukrainian forces several times did try to conduct some reckoning force and local scale offensive operations in direction of Orechov, on southern side of Orechov, in close vicinity from Rabotin settlement. And according to informations that Russian telegram channels are reporting, during this failed operations, they had lost, Ukrainian forces lost up to 4 main battle tanks, several armored personnel carriers, and more than a platoon of manpower without achieving anything really. And I don't really understand why this is happening, but day after day Ukrainian forces are conducting these frontal assaults on Russian positions, and despite heavy losses they are not really changing their tactics, which is I mean, even though I'm not military expert, even for me it's like it seems crazy. But well, maybe that was recommendations that Zelensky and his associates did receive from their masters in the West. Who knows? But as I said, overall situation in and there were some skirmishes in Zhuribyanki, Pitikhatki direction also, but without any significant changes on that sector of the front. When it comes to South Donetsk direction, its main hot point is this Vremensky ledge between Ugledar and Gulyai Pole, and according to some reports, Zelensky's regime did finish regrouping of its forces in this direction, and if that's the case, then today, tomorrow, or in coming days, we will probably see significant activization of units in this direction. But yet again, I have some doubts that they will be able to achieve any significant success there. It's almost 2 months now since beginning of this so-called counteroffensive, and they did not even manage to reach first line of defense of Russian forces in this sector of the front. And by the way, only area where we can say that Zelensky's regime did manage to achieve first line of defense, somewhat achieve, somewhat reach, not achieve, but reach first line of defense is Rabotina area in Orekhov direction. And that's it, really. So it's quite sunny day, as you can see, and well, there some nice park in that area, and I will go there. And then there's some park here also, and I will try to show you both places while recording this update. So yes, that's when it comes to Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors of the front line. Not that much changes really. It's operational pause, and it will probably stay this way for a while. When it comes to Donetsk direction, it's usual hot points: Marinka, Krasnogorovka, Avdiivka. There were some reports that are contradicting each other, according to which Russian forces withdraw from some positions in direction of Avdiivka, but according to some other reports, exactly opposite did happen, and Russian forces, as a result of successful local-scale offensive operations, did manage to improve their positions in Avdiivka direction. So it's hard to tell really what is going on. After all, I'm not there on the front line, but that's the reports that I see. So I'm sharing with you what I read with my own eyes. When it comes to Marinka and Krasnogorovka, it's even though initiative is in Russian hands, these settlements are disputed between the sides, and I believe Russian forces will try to establish control first over the Krasnogorovka, and only then finish this offensive on Marinki, because as I understand, Ukrainian forces in Marinka sector are receiving reinforcements and ammunition and the rest of it from Krasnogorovka. So it seems logical to establish control first over that settlement, Krasnogorovka, and then try to finish off this offensive on Marinka. And that's when it comes to Donetsk direction. And by the way, there are some changes in direction of Bakhmut. In southern flank of Bakhmut, there are some changes, according to reports that we are seeing since yesterday, really. And latest news is that Ukrainian forces, despite heavy losses, did manage to achieve some local-scale success in southern flank of Bakhmut and enter settlement Klescheevka. Also, there are some conflicting reports. According to some, half of the settlement is already under control of Ukrainian forces. According to some other reports, Ukrainian forces are on outskirts of the settlement, and settlement is still under full Russian control. But, well, we did see quite a few times during this special military operation Russian tactic of maneuverable warfare, and if Russian positions in that settlement, Klescheevka, are not defendable or hardly defendable, and if it will take too much losses to defend that settlement, I believe leadership of Russian military will make decision to withdraw from forces from Klescheevka and establish new defense lines on that sector to make sure that Bakhmut is safe. And I believe that's the right approach, really, because on the other hand, we have a very different take from Zelensky's regime when they are sacrificing unbelievable number of manpower for some irrelevant, really, so-called achievements, if we even can call it achievement, on the front lines. So I believe Russian approach is much more appropriate and human after all, because to save manpower, that's supposed to be one of the main goals for any army, for God's sake. And well, I would not be surprised if today or tomorrow we will learn that Russian forces did make decision to withdraw from Klescheevka and establish some new lines of defense in that sector. But yet again, even though Klescheevka has some strategic location, I think Russian side will deploy some reserves in that area, and there will be no breakthrough on southern flank of Bakhmut, and Ukrainian forces would not be able to even partially encircle Bakhmut. And as many of you did notice, this crazy sick individual, Syrsky, that is head of ground forces of Ukraine, has some issues with Bakhmut. I mean, he cannot cope with the fact that he lost Bakhmut, and he's sacrificing, as I said, an unbelievable number of manpower of Ukrainian armed forces to achieve basically irrelevant successes on Bakhmut direction, which will definitely change nothing, but Ukrainian army will lose hundreds and maybe thousands of additional troops. That's what will happen. And by the way, let me show you this area. It's quite nice. That's I don't know if you can see, it's a river Terek there, and well, I can take a seat for a minute, and well, that's when it comes to, yes, Bakhmut direction. In southern sector there are some changes, as I said, in Klescheevka, but I don't think it will influence overall situation on this sector of the front. On the northern flank of Bakhmut, initiative is in Russian hands, and despite all the attempts from Ukrainian forces to achieve any success especially in direction of Berkhovka, they're failing, really. And well, it's gonna stay this way. I believe Ukrainian forces lost initiative in northern flank of Bakhmut for forever. They would not be able to regain initiative in that area. And when it comes to northern sectors of the front, from Seversk to Kupiansk, it's Russian side that are on offensive, and well, we all get used to receiving more and more information about Russian successful offensive operations in this area. And during the last 24 hours, we had quite a few reports about yet another settlements that were that become under full Russian control in Liman, Kupiansk directions. And basically, yesterday I did not see a report from RT where when some soldiers were openly saying that basically they are ready to conduct large-scale offensive operations. So all they need is order to do so. So they are waiting for green light, and I believe before end of this summer they will receive green light, and we will see big Russian offensive in direction of Kharkov region, basically from Seversk up to Kharkov region. So that's a quick summary. About frontline. Now let's talk about some other news, and they are quite interesting news that have been reported in Russian media. And well, first of all, let me talk about that incident that took place yesterday when Ukrainian forces did try to strike Russian Black Sea fleet ship in southern sector of the Black Sea. And according to reports that we are receiving, Ukrainian forces were using 2 unmanned naval drones to attack this ship, and they were destroyed. On distance of 800 and 1,000 meters from the ship. So they were detected in time and neutralized by a command of that Russian ship. But yet again, it's quite possible that that attempted strike on Russian ship was a part of a bigger provocation in regard to grain deal. And if that's the case, then in coming days we will probably see some continuation of that provocation. This time maybe with transport ships that will try to enter Ukrainian ports or leave Ukrainian ports. Let's see, but there were some reports that London and Kiev were actively working on some provocations. So anything is possible, really. And let's go and talk about some. And by the way, quite nice area, isn't it? Quite nice, peaceful area. And as I said many times before, Vladikavkaz has all the chances to become one of the most popular destinations for internal tourists, because it's very calm here, very peaceful, and I mean, tourists can definitely chill when they are in Vladikavkaz and in North Ossetia, Alania as a whole, and they can enjoy not just this city but also, of course, great nature, mountains, and well, I highly recommend whenever you have an opportunity to visit North Ossetia, Alania. You're gonna love it here, absolutely. And let's talk about some other news. And well, there are quite a few interesting topics. And by the way, yesterday afternoon, head of DPR, Denis Pushilin, did made statements about situation on the front lines, and he said that Ukrainian forces already lost more than a third of all the military equipment that they received from the NATO member states, which is I don't know, maybe Denis Pushilin is underestimating loss of Ukrainian forces, because even though 30% is a huge number, I mean, there are so many videos on internet and photos of destroyed this Ukrainian military equipment. So I mean, I guess maybe 50% or even more have been already destroyed from all the equipment that NATO member states did deliver to Zelensky's regime. But Denis Pushilin did said 30%, which is definitely conservative number in my understanding. And by the way, this explains quite well why we are seeing so many Ukrainian local scale attacks when infantry is attacking without cover of tanks, armored personnel carriers, or even artillery. Because, you know, Russian drones, especially Lancer drones, are just decimating artillery of long-range artillery of Zelensky's regime. They are great hunters. And not just artillery, by the way. I mean, recently we did see quite a few videos when these drones were successfully used against even tanks. And they were destroying tanks, main battle tanks. So once this conflict will end, I believe manufacturers of Lancer drone will find themselves even more busy than they are now, because demand worldwide will be incredible for these drones. And let me share with you some other news. I will try to make this update as short as possible. And Peskov did made a statement, press spokesman of Russian president, and he said that, oh, by the way, it's a nice square, a nice park. So may I go there? So yes, Peskov did made a statement and said that France and Western elites, and especially from France and US, were extremely active to put pressure on all the African nations that were participating, that agreed to participate in upcoming conference Russia-France, which will take place on 27th, 28th of July in St. Petersburg. And according to Peskov, France and US, they did fail in their attempt to pressure African states, but well, he did acknowledge fact itself that well, Western elites find it extremely difficult to cope with the reality when they are truly losing their grip on this world, and Africa is included. And by the way, just this morning I did see some reports that South African government refused to invite not just President of France, Macron, on upcoming BRICS summit, for example, which will take place in South Africa, but he also, leadership of South Africa also refused to invite a delegation from US, and and Washington also wanted to be presented on that conference. So this is once again, I mean, indicator that France, US, United Kingdom, they are losing their relevance worldwide, and the African continent is not exception. And yes, Peskov just confirmed that yes, all the states that will participate in this conference, and we are talking about 49 delegations that will come to St. Petersburg. All of them were under pressure, all of them, from especially from France and US. And by the way, according to latest information, only five states will not be represented in this summit. Only 5 states from Africa. The rest of them, they will participate in this summit. Russia, Africa, and 17 states, by the way, will be represented by heads of states. And yet again, you tell me if Western elites were successful in their attempt to derail this summit. It's going to be 49 delegations, and 17 delegations will be led by heads of states from Africa. So that's a great diplomatic and political success of Moscow, no doubt about that. And let me continue. And of course, this summit is going to be main topic today, tomorrow, and next few days, because it's a big deal, really, in terms of not just relationships between Russia and African nations, but also in terms of uh, um, BRICS development, also in terms of minimizing Western influence. And well, I guess maybe not in the Western world, but in the rest of the world, media will probably pay significant attention to this summit. Let me continue now. And by the way, China has new foreign minister, also interesting development. Gan have been removed from his duties, and Wang Yi had become a new foreign minister of China. And this person, Wang Yi, is well known, especially with his activity in terms of promoting peace talks. Promoting peace talks between Moscow and Kiev. There's some renovation taking place in this park here, and I'm thinking which way to go, really. So yes, that's a quite interesting topic, and I guess China will become even more active under leadership. Chinese foreign policy will become even more active under leadership of Wang Yi in many directions, and peaceful negotiations between Russia and Ukraine probably will be one of the main topics that Chinese foreign ministry will pay attention to. And by the way, few more news. Let's go that way. And a few more news. Very interesting development. It happened in Syria. If you remember, yesterday I did said in update that Russian media outlets will probably pay significant attention to topic of breaking rules by US coalition in Syria when it comes to the escalation, to avoid any accidents between US coalition and Russian forces or Syrian forces. And yesterday afternoon we did and I was saying in my yesterday's update that maybe this topic have been active in Russian media for some significant reasons, and who knows, maybe in foreseeable future, that was my prediction, that in foreseeable future US coalition will find itself in difficult situation in Syria. And yesterday afternoon, by the way, we had reports that Russian fighter jet Su-35 did damage US drone, MQ-9 drone. And I even share video footage of that incident on my Telegram page. And Su-35 did approach this US drone, then use its heat decoys, and one of these decoys hit propeller of a US drone, and it did receive some damage. It did not crash, but it did receive some damage. And by the way, what is interesting, I believe this type of actions will intensify in coming weeks and months, and I believe Moscow directly or indirectly will force US out of Syria, US and its allies. And that will be one of the directions where Moscow will respond to US or Washington's provocations heavy-handedly. That's my prediction. Let's see. Let's see what will happen. Few more news, and I will end this update. By the way, also interesting that Russian Defense Minister Shoigu is in North Korea, which is quite interesting. Quite interesting because officially Shoigu in North Korea to celebrate end of conflict in Korean Peninsula. It's 70th anniversary, if I'm not mistaken, but I guess there will be talks between Shoigu and North Korean leadership about some military cooperation, and maybe North Korea will begin deliveries of artillery and ammunition to Russia, because North Korea may not have many type of weapons, but they do have artillery, insignificant numbers, and I would not be surprised if North Korea will begin deliveries of its artillery pieces and ammunition to Russian Federation in very significant numbers. So that's why I think this visit of Shoigu in North Korea is important, even though we have reports here in Russia that Russian military-industrial complex is working like 24 hours a day, manufacturing plants to produce all the necessary military gear for Russian armed forces. I believe there are some need in some more weapons and ammunition, especially in terms of artillery, and that's my guess, by the way, that one of the main reasons or one of the main topics of negotiations between Shoigu and North Korean leadership will be deliveries of artillery from North Korea, and maybe some other types of weapons also, not just artillery and ammunition to it, but maybe some other type of weapons also, who knows. So let me share with you a few more news. And yes, by the way, as I said, on Krasnoliman direction, Russian forces did establish control over the settlement of Sergeyevka. That was reported yesterday afternoon. And also some other settlement was Russian forces enter some other settlement, Nadia, if I'm not mistaken. I did share information about it on my Telegram page. And by the way, this is also, you may find it interesting, that NASA for some reason did lose communication with the International Space Station, and for quite some time NASA was fully dependent for communication on Russian colleagues on Roscosmos. And when I see this information, I mean, I was glad, kind of, because at least there are some areas that sides are still on good terms and are cooperating. And let's hope that it will stay this way, at least in science and space explorations. Because on terms of political relationships, I mean, probably Even during the Cold War, relationship between Moscow and Washington was not as bad as it is now. Also quite interesting news that Rosatom will begin to develop uranium mines in Tanzania. And by the way, Rosatom is, I believe, present in many, directly or indirectly, in many African states. And well, after this summit, Russia-Africa, I believe many contracts will be signed, and not just Rosatom will become much more active in African states, but many other Russian companies also. I expect not just political statements from this summit that will take place, Russia-Africa, that will take place in St. Petersburg tomorrow and day after, but I do expect some serious deals to be done on, some multi-billion deals, really, which will be beneficial for Russia and which will be beneficial for African states. And let me check. Maybe I will share a few more news, and this is it, really. And by the way, Russian officials once again did make statements that they will once again confirmed basically that they will deliver grain and all fertilizers and all the goods, all the necessary goods to countries in need anyway, with grain deal or without grain deal. So countries in need should not be worried that they will be left alone. No, Russia gonna stand with them. And by the way, this is gonna be last news, I guess, for today. That according to Politico, and this is TASS news agencies reporting about it, that according to Western media outlet Politico, Washington and other capitals of NATO member states did not reach any agreement yet about training of Ukrainian pilots for F-16 fighter jets. And well, this information one more indicator to me personally that Zelensky's regime will never receive or will never have true control over any Western-made fighter jet. Never. And if Western fighter jets will be introduced to the battlefield, it will happen only when Poland and some other states from this anti-Russian coalition will try to establish control over the western regions of Ukraine. Only then. That's my reading of big picture, and well, I will end this update. Now. Hopefully you will find this video interesting, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like more. More likes and comments definitely do make change. They do influence algorithm on YouTube, and by the way, you can check it on your own. Yesterday's update had only little bit more than 5,000 views. Update day before 9,000 views, and update day before that 17,000 views. So I truly find it difficult to understand how algorithm of YouTube does work. But I believe likes and comments do make a big difference. And by the way, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. And if you think this channel is interesting, useful, informative, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links on this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. I truly hope you will like this video. It's a nice day today in Vladikavkaz. And yes, this is it. Have a great day and take care.